Hello everyone, Director Doug here again, and today we're doing another question and answer session. I know we've done some in the past and we've gotten some really positive response from you guys, and you keep sending us questions, so we keep trying to answer them about how we make the show, what happens in the background, some details on characters, that sort of thing, and some of our plans for the future. So Steve gets these questions from you, and then he spits them out to us, and the three of us discuss them and try to answer them as best we can. So Steve, what do we have today?
Well, since you're talking about behind the scenes, there's the question of, are there any things that have kind of been or overlooked or missed in productions or continuity issues?
Oh, someone's asking for mistakes that we make. No,
Yes.
we're perfect. No,
So
we're
our
perfect.
dirty laundry, we're not going to tell you. Oh man, the biggest one for me, and it's was early. I think it was season 2, wasn't it?
It was.
The summer camp. Yeah.
Yep. It was the last
really
episode
early.
of season 2.
Okay, which had 10 episodes. Mm-hmm.
And we discovered this very recently when we were recording season 21, and which is our 5th anniversary season, where we actually do flashbacks to stories that happened in the past in Discovery Mountain.
Mm-hmm.
And Miss Jean, you kind of wrote all these scripts by pulling from other scripts. You didn't necessarily listen to all of the scenes. You just went to old scripts and said, "Oh, I like that scene. I'd like to flash back to this scene."
Yep.
And so you send me the script, and I start trying to pull all of this audio from old shows. Mm-hmm. And there's one scene where Judah and Ben are having kind of a little heart-to-heart conversation. They've made up after the oatmealing incident.
Right.
And they're just kind of, having a calm conversation, just character development, right? They're getting to know each other a bit better, becoming better friends and whatever. And so the first place I went to look for that, just because it's so simple, is I actually went to the Spotify site. And I pulled that episode and I listened all the way through. There's scene's not there. And I'm thinking, well, this is not possible. So I listen again and I listen again, and the scene's not there. And so I said, okay, well, this is ridiculous. I went to the Discovery Mountain website. I said, certainly, I don't know what happened on Spotify, something messed up. So I go to the Discovery Mountain website. Sure enough, no scene. It's like, what on earth is going on? Mm-hmm. And the funny thing is if you eliminate that scene, the story doesn't fall apart, because it was just kind of character development. There was no plot happening there, right?
Mm-hmm. So you don't have a plot hole of any kind with it missing.
No, exactly.
So he calls me.
Yeah.
And asks, what's going on? I can't find it on Spotify. I can't find it on the main website. So then
what did you do?
Yeah,
Steve.
he's like, did you do something? And I'm like, well, I wasn't here when that came out, so you can't blame me. And so we're going and looking at the same time. We're on a phone call, just kind of checking it all out. And I come to discover that the episode is 2 minutes shorter than it should be.
Right. Because all of our episodes are exactly 28 minutes and 30 seconds, because that's what radio stations need. That's the time frame that radio stations need. Yeah. So this was actually 26:30, you're saying, Steve.
Yeah.
Right about.
Okay. Yep. Yeah.
So then I start investigating, like, okay, so I'm going back to my original files, because I still have all the files where I built the sound effects. And I was like, okay, so did we just not record it? And
Yeah.
So in my original files, there's the scene with
Wow.
all the sound effects.
So we recorded the voices. You post-produced it. A sound engineer, Danny, did the music and everything.
That's where it
fell
diverged.
apart? Okay.
Yes. So I send all the scenes to Danny. Mm-hmm. And by the way, he's an amazing guy to work with.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, this is no negative. I mean, we are so blessed to have him on the team with his musical talent. It's just amazing. Mm-hmm. So I asked him, I said, well, did you receive this scene, or did maybe I not, transfer it to you? We transferred the files digitally. And he goes on his system. He goes, well, no, I had the scenes here. And then he goes to his master, and you know what? Just in the volume of work he had, for some reason, he just didn't put that scene in the final mix.
And we didn't catch it. That's the amazing thing.
That's the worst part. Yeah. So back then, this was early in the production. So now our Q&A is not quite as not Q&A. Our QC is not quite as intense because we have a method. We're pretty confident about what we're doing. But back then, Danny would do the final mix after I sent him all the sound effects. He'd send it to me. I'd do a quality control pass on it. Then I would give him the okay. He would send the files to you, Gene, and then you would distribute them to Ruben, to Joel Baker, to Hareem. And there was a whole bunch of people that would go over it with a fine-tooth comb because we were, still trying to establish things. Nobody caught it.
Nobody caught it. Exactly. And I can't believe it. I think the reason we got away with it is, as you said, it was inconsequential to the plot line, or certainly I would hope someone would have caught it. But
so now we have in our 5th anniversary special, we have a flashback because we now have the scene. We know we have the scene.
Right.
We have a flashback to a scene with the characters, with Judah and Ben, that nobody's heard before.
I love it.
And it's actually recorded 5 years ago, so their voices are correct.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So here's a flashback scene that, by the time you're hearing this, you've already heard the episode.
Right.
But we get the benefit of now being able to go back in time with the actors at their correct age for a scene that our listeners had never heard before.
It's kind of neat that it worked out that way, honestly. It's kind of like this little hidden nugget out there that we've rediscovered.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it's these things happen. These mistakes happen. And, I'm actually surprised in the beginning when, as you said, Doug, we were still trying to even figure out what Discovery Mountain was meant to sound like, what our processes were, all of that more of those things didn't happen.
Well, and there's actually a continuity issue in season 1.
That's right. This is something you picked up, Steve.
Yeah, I was listening with my kids one day about a year or two ago, probably 2 years ago now. But we were at home listening on our smart speaker, and we were listening to season 1 for whatever reason. And Kayla mentions, going to the cafe, which really wasn't a cafe anymore because Miss Lucy sold it, moved to the big city, and it became a burger joint. And then, I'm sitting there like it caught my ear just because I was passive listening, and then I had it rewind back to that section. And then I listened to it again, and then I says, oh, we messed up somewhere. And because in season 7, Miss Lucy's still in her cafe.
That's right. She's there.
And she sells it to the Harris family.
Yeah.
Because she is among them.
Yep. And that's like the main storyline of season 7. Absolutely.
Yeah. Right.
So that one little sentence essentially in season 1 obviously was written in before, because it's season 1, before the whole town was fully developed in my brain. And so, that is funny because it doesn't fit the future. But, I wonder how many of those little tiny things have slipped into Discovery Mountain, and how many of our listeners have caught some of them too, even things that we haven't heard, those continuity issues.
Yeah, I'd love to hear.
Yeah, that would be fun.
Yeah, absolutely. If any of you have found little continuity issues and things, like, hang on, guys, that can't be true.
Yeah.
Because back in season 3, some character said blah blah blah, and that doesn't make any sense to season 16. So if you hear any of those things, please let us know. We would love to know about it and have a bit of a laugh about it. We might even talk about it in a upcoming Q&A. Who knows?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think somebody called out a continuity issue with season 20.
Season 20.
Now that I'm thinking about it. And it was a line with Peabody and George because he was talking about remembering young Isabel.
And,
right. And Mr. Garcia, Ethan, and he wasn't in town.
Who wasn't? Peabody wasn't?
Peabody wasn't.
Yeah, Peabody grew up in Discovery Mountain.
He grew up in Discovery Mountain, but he wasn't there continuity-wise during that point in time.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
When they were around that age that things.
That would have been right, because Peabody's a lot older than...
Yeah, he's Chaplain Simon's age.
Oh, there you go.
So,
see, our listeners, they know more about Discovery Mountain than I do, definitely.
And I didn't catch it either. And at that point, it was like, well, we've already recorded everything else, and it'll just live there now.
That's kind of a fun trivia fact, because that is accurate. Mm-hmm.
It's a nice bit of trivia. They even get in feature films from Hollywood, like in Ben-Hur. I mean, I think someone's wearing a watch, or you see a contrail from a jet in the sky.
Right.
That's before they had the digital ability to remove all those things, and so those are they're mistakes, but they're kind of fun.
They're kind of fun.
Actually.
Oh, they are.
Our family, when our daughters were young, we used to like watching Little House on the Prairie, and there was one that was actually filmed in Simi Valley, California, where we were living at the time, and we used to go out to the filming site, and it was really fun. But anyway, there's one shot, and there's a huge palm tree in the back of the scene, and that doesn't fit the prairies. So yeah, those kind of mistakes are actually fun.
Well, I think we purposely do some on authentic.
Yeah, for the listener's sake, for the viewer's sake.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's some with things that happen on the table periodically.
Oh, okay.
We make the split-second decision to do it in between takes of breaks. So sometimes you'll notice, sometimes you won't. But yeah, fun fact there. Anyways, moving on to more questions. Are there plans to have Discovery Mountain-themed kids' Bible lessons?
Oh, great question, because we get asked that a lot. And the short answer is yes, absolutely. So depending on when you're listening to this episode's going to air originally in 2022. It'll be about a year and a half. So sometime in 2023, 2024, kids, Bible studies, Bible lessons that have some of your favorite Discovery Mountain stories and characters in them, they will be available, yes.
All right, so our next question is there any chance you are working on a Discovery Mountain app where we could access the podcast? I would love an app that just gives access to your podcast without any others and where we can listen on the go.
Oh, that would be neat.
Good question. Well, I know, Steve, you've been thinking about this. There are no active plans, but you've certainly had discussions with me about doing this as an option.
Mm-hmm. Specifically for the club.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So the idea is there.
The idea is there. It's interesting, though, and I love getting these kind of questions because it tells us how our listeners want to enjoy Discovery Mountain. And, every month we look at the data. Steve, you collect the data where we can see from our website. It's really fascinating. The back end of the website tells us what kind of device accessed the website. So if you listen to discoverymountain.com on your tablet, on a telephone, or on a desktop computer, we can actually see that information, not you specifically, but, the data.
Right.
And so how people listen, the data is something that we're constantly interested in and tracking. It's quite fascinating. And so, if you're listening to this interview right now and you're saying, oh, yeah, I would love an app because that would be my preferred way to listen, let us know. No plans in the immediate future, but maybe for the club, as producer Steve said.
Mm-hmm. Well, I could see where an app could possibly do. You could possibly do a lot more than just listen to the program. I mean, you could have daily scriptures. You could have devotional thoughts that pop up. There's all sorts of things that you could handle with a dedicated app. So it's a very interesting question.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, I agree.
So there's a couple of questions that I got from a listener recently. And the first one is, first of all, when will there be more episode seasons with high schoolers as the main characters? I know that bringing back specific characters into the plot won't quite be possible, but maybe there could be some new teenage characters.
Did somebody read our production notes or something? I think they have an inside track. I don't know. That's a very observant listener. That's probably not the right adjective, but that listener is paying attention because, yes, it's true. Some of our favorite teenage characters kind of grew up, and the voice actors kind of grew up and left for college and other things, and the characters kind of left town and got on with new things. So it's time to bring some new teenagers to Discovery Mountain, and we are actively working on that. So I think in starting around seasons 23, 24, and forward, we'll start seeing some new teenagers pop up around town. Plus, some of our younger characters are going to grow into teenagers soon enough, too.
Yep.
That's right.
Harold, Logan, Brianna. Mm-hmm.
And we started to, we have auditioned some older teenage characters. And by the way, plug for auditioning. If you'd like to audition for the show, you can do that. Steve, how do they do that again?
DiscoveryMountain.com/audition.
There you go. Maybe you could be the next teenager.
Yeah, yes. Perfect. Yes.
So the next question is, what happened to Kylie and the Australians?
Good question. Well, you guys can probably answer that. It's, we love working with Kate, who plays Kylie. She does live in Australia, though. So the last couple of years, recording, even though we've always recorded her remotely, even setting her up to get into a studio there in Australia has been a little bit of a challenge.
Right. And COVID hasn't made it any easier.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, it's made it very hard.
Yeah.
For a lot of production elements.
Yeah. And confession here, because confession is good for the soul. My last recording with Kate, who plays Kylie, I was actually out of town for the weekend, and we had scheduled to record her on, I think it was 7 a.m. or 7:30 a.m. Monday morning in Australia.
Wow.
Well, that just so happens to be Sunday evening in Canada, Ontario, near Toronto, where I am. Mm-hmm. And so I had planned to come back into my studio to connect with them in Australia. Mm-hmm. And I did get the day right. So I was actually trying to connect on my Sunday, their Monday, but I was an hour out.
Oh, no.
On the time zone. So, So basically, I show up, I fire up all the equipment, I log on to connect, I check my emails, and I've got a stream of emails from the technician down in the studio. Are you there? Are we supposed to record? Has something changed? It's like, oh, no. So I immediately emailed back. I got a response, but of course, Kate, because she was in school at the time, had to go back to class.
Aww.
So we missed that completely. I apologize profusely, of course, and we rescheduled. But that makes it. It's with the Australians. It was difficult from a scheduling perspective. I mean, once you got your mind around it, it was fine. But it was always the wrong day. So on their schedule it would say Monday, and on our schedule it would say Sunday, and it was just like, okay, I'm getting a headache here.
Yeah, right.
And I discovered too that sometimes their time zones don't change the same as ours do here.
Oh, like with daylight savings time is not in sync?
Certain areas there, it would change by like 45 minutes or an hour and a half.
Oh. Yeah, that's confusing.
Which was different from a scheduling perspective. So so part of that was me scheduling according to what I remembered as the previous time zone when we did it the previous production, and so that was partly on me too. But it was always difficult to wrap my head around it because I'm dealing with Mountain Time where we are, Doug's time, which is Eastern, and then Australian time, which is the next day. Right. So like, because 3 p.m. our time the day before would be like 7 or 9 or something their time in Australia, and so it was it was really hard to wrap my head around it.
Yeah. Well,
and you know what? All the Australian actors are wonderful to work with.
They're excellent.
They're great too.
And so I don't write the program, but I don't know Gene's ultimate plan as this thing goes forward. But it would be great to continue to have them periodically be involved with the show. They were just just great to work with.
I think so. And we really got to know Kylie best out of that family. But I loved also the voices of her little siblings, Charlie and Ruby. They just had I just loved their voices. They were just the sweetest. So I agree. I think we need to continue to use our Australian cast. And now that the pandemic has gotten better, I'm scared to almost say that, but I think I think them being able to get into facilities where they are is going to be easier for them too.
Well, interestingly enough, Charlie and Ruby, the characters that play the actors that play them, no longer live in Australia.
Oh, that's right. They live. Where are they now?
Their father is a physician, and I think he's doing some residency work or whatever. And they were in the UK for a while. In fact, the last time we used Charlie and Ruby, they recorded from a studio in England.
Oh, interesting.
Nice.
And now they actually live in Vancouver, British Columbia, in Canada.
Okay.
Yes.
Wow.
So we have to chase them all over the planet, right? But
right.
I'm friends with their mother on Facebook, so we can communicate that way. So anytime we need to connect or would like to record with them, that's possible. It's easy to get a hold of them. We just don't know where they're going to be.
Okay, right. Wow. Well, we really are a global ministry, aren't we? I love that.
Absolutely. Yep. And this technology that we use to connect with is literally a godsend. I mean, when COVID hit and we couldn't all get together, it allowed us to continue to work seamlessly, and we never missed a beat. I mean, we didn't miss 1 week, and it was mainly because we were able to connect with high quality and it's worked really, really well.
Just so thankful that, Doug, you kind of got us thinking along those lines before it ever happened, not because we ever anticipated a pandemic, but, every time you come down to record, you have to cross a border, and there's always some element of risk there that they'll say, sorry, buddy, you're not coming into the States this time. So you kind of queued us up to start thinking about these. And so, mentally, we were ready to start trying these things, and you guys kind of knew some of the places to go to test these systems. And so you're right, exactly. Just boom, we just didn't miss.
Right.
Praise the Lord.
As soon as travel restrictions were in place, we just morphed over to this method. In fact, even right now as we're recording, I'm standing in my facility in Bowmanville, Ontario, Canada, and you guys are in a studio in Loveland, Colorado, and it sounds like we're all sitting in the same room together.
Yep, absolutely.
Well, and actually that plays into the auditions too, because we transitioned from in-person auditions to digital auditions, which allows me to build a online database where the three of us can go through, and as we're looking for characters to fill specific roles, are able to go in and do that. And we've found quite a few from doing that.
We really have. It's been a godsend.
Well, and for most of those actors now that we've found, they don't come to Loveland. We record people in California and Washington, D.C. and Wyoming, in Florida, just all over the place, Georgia.
Wisconsin, Tennessee.
Yeah,
Winnipeg,
exactly.
Manitoba.
Winnipeg, that's right. Winnipeg, Manitoba here in Canada. And so it's just broadened our ability to find new characters. We were quite honestly having some problems when we were only using local Loveland talent, because it was just hard to find more and more and more characters in a limited, environment, just the Loveland area. And once we were able to practically expand it to anywhere really on the planet, we've been able to find some really, really talented people to participate in Discovery Mountain.
Yes, absolutely. And I hope that some families listening right now, that this kind of plants a seed with you and you're encouraged to audition. We'd love to hear your audition.
Yep. And although we may not use someone right away, we do keep them on file, because I think there was a couple individuals that at the start of the pandemic auditioned, and like within the last 6-8 months, we were looking for some actors for new characters, and we ended up using them.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it just because absolutely. They auditioned a long time ago doesn't mean that we don't keep it.
Right. Because you may audition and you're a 40-year-old male, and we may not have a character that needs the voice kind of that sounds like a 40-year-old male right now.
Although we always need.
Yeah. Dads, we're always looking for male voices, especially for our Bible characters. But, when we do need that type of voice, then we will have your audition on file to listen to.
Well, and Gene, you make a really good point. Probably didn't intend to actually, but it's some people think that Discovery Mountain is a whole pile of children characters, and they think of, well, my kids should audition for this. But hey, I mean, when you listen to the show, there's adults on the show, and actually, it's really important for us to find new adult characters as well.
Absolutely.
So. If your children love the program, and even if you don't listen to it too much, mainly your children do, but are hearing this, or kids, if you're hearing this, tell your parents they need to audition.
Yes,
because
absolutely.
we could always use adult talent as well for teachers and principals and doctors and police officers and parents. And our Bible characters always.
Bible characters.
Yes. Absolutely.
Yes. And there are, if you mapped out all the main stories of the Bible, they're most of the individuals in those Bible stories are male, not female. So that's why I said dads, because we're always looking for new male voices for our Bible stories.
That's why sometimes you might hear me playing multiple Bible characters through seasons.
That's right. It's right. We can only stretch Steve's talents so far.
Although everyone continues to try.
Yeah, we do.
We have a new character. What's Steve doing this afternoon?
Yeah, Steve.
Can you come up with a voice?
What do you have? All right, let's see. Yeah, like the Scottish guy.
Oh, you did great with Robert the Bruce. That was amazing.
That was Natalie.
And I was the other Scottish guy.
Yes.
That's right. Yes, Doug and Steve. You guys were the Scottish guys. You did amazing.
Dear. I am actually a quarter Scotch, so although I've never been to Scotland.
I got a little bit in my blood too.
You do? Yeah. Well, there you go. Well, I'm 50. I just did the ancestry thing. I'm like 54% Scottish or something. Oh, nice. So yeah, maybe I have to try but there's no way I can do the accent.
You never know. Watch enough educational TV on it and YouTube videos, and it's just how you write it.
Yeah.
I had to rewrite the script to do that.
Phonetically. Yeah.
Yes. So the last question we have is, when will you guys show Natasha and Jake together again? They haven't been on any dates lately, and they used to be all the time. Though I understand it's hard to fit those moments in. I'm an amateur writer myself, and that often happens in my writing.
Oh, I love it. What a sweet question. Well, Jake and Natasha's relationship is certainly not over. I think they will definitely be on more and more dates, and we will continue to see them getting along. And, they're like in their late 20s. And so I think most people, if they're in a good relationship and they're in their mid 20s, they keep going on dates and eventually they get married. So we will see. But unless something dramatic happens and Jake just, completely ruins the relationship somehow, I think that's where it's headed.
Well, and if we ever meet Jake's family, I know an individual that's very excited to play all of them.
Oh, really? Oh, very fun. Oh, is that Reuben?
Yes.
Yeah, right. Reuben has voices for his entire family.
I have heard a number of them during Jake's Take sessions.
Fun.
So
I've heard the grandpa voice, but I haven't heard the others.
Oh, yeah. He's got a whole slew of them. So.
Oh, my.
So, yeah, I think that about wraps up this Q&A. And so if people would like to hear more questions, they can always submit them to the contact page on the Discovery Mountain website.
Yeah, that's great. We love hearing your questions, your feedback. Send us questions you want to hear in a future Q&A. And we also would love to hear if you've caught any of our mistakes, our continuity issues. That's always fun trivia for us. Well, thanks, Director Doug. Thanks, Producer Steve. And I hope that you've had fun listening, and join us again next time. Bye.